It is time for baseball. Milford is ready to go. Kevin Lynch, the starting pitcher, ready to go. Lawrence Hill, the leadoff hitter for Middletown, in the box. The first pitch on the way, and it is on the outside edge for a called strike one. And we are underway with playoff baseball in this Northeast Regional Tournament between Milford post 59 and Middletown post 75. Lynch's next pitch is driven right between the shortstop and third baseman through the left side for a leadoff single. That one took one quick hop on the infield dirt, scooted out into left field, picked up there by Matt DeCina. But a solid single by Lawrence Hill is how this game begins.
And expect Middletown, I mean, they're one loss away from being eliminated. They're going to give Milford everything they can handle tonight.
Man on first base, nobody out now for Jared Flommer, the designated hitter. Lynch's first pitch of the at-bat is in for strike one. Kevin Lynch has not made a start in these playoffs. He did come out of the bullpen in Milford's fourth game of the state tournament before he delivers his 0-1 pitch. It's a pickoff check over at first base, not all that close. Hill was able to get back standing.
This is the seventh game Lynch has pitched in this year. He started 6, including this start here tonight.
The runner takes off from first base. The pitch is outside. The throw from Basazzi is not close. It ends up out into shallow center field. And it is an easy theft of second base for Lawrence Hill. He gets himself down into scoring position with nobody out. This is an area that Milford is going to have to be aware of in this game. So far in this Northeast Regional Tournament, Middletown has 10 stolen bases. They have not been caught once. So Hill now leads off of second base. It is a 1-ball, 1-strike count on the batter. The next pitch is a little bit up and away. 2 balls and 1 strike now on Flommer. The third baseman, Will Woods, waiting on deck. A look in from Lynch. Now he comes to the set position, a peek down to second. Looks a second time, now deals to the plate. The pitch is well up and away this time. Basazzi was out of the crouch to keep it from going to the backstop, and it's now a 3-ball, 1-strike count. The first inning has typically been a problem for Kevin Lynch in his outings. Hoping to avoid that here today. Here's a 3-1 pitch, and that one's able to grab the outside corner. Now it fills up the count at 3-2.
So far, Middletown in this tournament has beat Cheshire, Connecticut 7-4 in the first game they played, and then Essex, Vermont 4-2 in the second game.
The 3-2 pitch on the way, and it's outside. It gets away from Basazzi. Now moving up to third base is Lawrence Hill. That should go as a pass ball against Basazzi that allows the runner to move up. Flommer, meanwhile, takes the walk down to first base. And trouble's brewing for Milford here in the top of the first inning. Runners at the corners and nobody out now for the third baseman, Will Woods. And again, it certainly bears repeating that we are in the home ballpark of this Middletown post 75 team, so they have the weight of this crowd behind them. Woods swings at the first pitch, pops it up in foul ground off of first base. DeCapoa gives a look, but it is up over the bleachers and out of play for strike one.
And the loss for Middletown came against RCP, the team Milford beat yesterday. It was a 13-0 loss. That was on the second day of the tournament.
No balls and 1 strike the count. Nobody out. Runners at the corners here in this top of the first inning. The runner takes off for second as the pitch is sliced foul off the bat of Woods. And Flommer will have to retreat.
It's very rare you see a host team survive the majority of the regionals.
The 0-2 pitch, a close one. Ruled ball 1, maybe a little bit high. A borderline pitch not going Kevin Lynch's way, and now the count goes to 1-2. Lynch delays, now comes to the set position. Ready with his 1-2 pitch, and it is grounded up the middle. That is going to get through for a base hit. And in from third base comes Lawrence Hill with the first run of this game. It's an RBI single for Will Woods that gives Middletown the 1-0 lead.
Well, Middletown has an explosive lineup, a lot of great hitters in this Middletown lineup. They've struggled in the regionals, however, only at a 195 mark.
They have a real chance to get the offense rolling here. Already a run home in this top of the first inning. Still no outs. Runners at first and second now. And the first pitch into Chris Carty, the catcher, is high for ball 1. Kevin Lynch carrying a 5.83 ERA into action tonight. Here's his 1-0 pitch, and it's up 2-0, and now Basazi will head out to the pitcher's mound for a visit. Coach DeVito telling me before the game he wants to rest Dan Mantoni's arm. That's why he's the designated hitter tonight. That would certainly indicate that he has an eye towards using him in a start tomorrow, potentially for the championship. And it's always a balancing act in a game like this, Tom. You don't want to take this game lightly. I'm sure they didn't take the game lightly in Game 4 of the state tournament when they ended up losing, but at the same time, you can't help but have an eye towards that championship game, wanting to make sure you have all your ducks in a row for that one.
Well, certainly. Well, I mean, you got the advantage by winning the first 3, so you could tire the 2 teams out, have them play before you tomorrow, and the team you're going to be playing at 7 o'clock, that'll be their second game of the day. So that's a huge advantage.
Conference over at the mound. The next pitch in from Lynch misses once again. 3 balls and no strikes now to Carty. The first 3 have reached for Middletown in the top of the first. 1 has scored. Here's the 3-0 pitch. It is not close. It is a 4-pitch walk. It's already the second walk of the outing for Kevin Lynch, who is laboring here in the first inning. Has to deal with the bases loaded now with nobody out, with the left fielder Griffin Bremer coming up. But before another pitch is thrown now, head coach Steve DeVito out for a chat.
But with the mentality of this Milford Post 59 team, I don't think they could take any game lately. You know they're going to be coming to the plate swinging. They're going to try to win this game. And either way, Mantoni will be good to pitch tomorrow, which is huge for Milford.
The conference at the mound continuing right now. It is Jared Flommer at third base, Will Woods at second, Chris Carty at first. It's already a 1-0 lead for Middletown, looking to put a crooked number on the scoreboard, with Bremer now about to dig in on the right side. Bremer listed at an even 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. First pitch on the way now from Kevin Lynch, and it misses. So far it's been 2 singles and 2 walks in the inning for Kevin Lynch, but he's thrown the last 5 straight pitches out of the strike zone. Ready now with his 1-0, and it is up again. He has been consistently up, which is dangerous territory to operate in. This ballpark here in Middletown, it is 327 feet down the left field line, 322 down the right field line, out to 380 in right center, 400 to straightaway center, and 380 in left center. So it is a bigger ballpark than what we saw out in Sudbury for the state tournament. Takes a little more muscle to jack one out of this ballpark. It is a 2-ball, 1-strike count now on Griffin Bremer. Lynch's next pitch misses outside and low. 3 balls and 1 strike to the batter, with nowhere to put him on the bases. And the Milford fans in the house here tonight starting to get a little antsy. A big pitch on the way from Kevin Lynch. Takes a deep breath, the wind-up and the pitch, and it's in for a called strike. Middletown in white jerseys with blue trim, Milford in their navy jerseys with gold lettering. The payoff pitch from Lynch is hit on the ground to shortstop, played there by McMillan. He shuffles to second base out there, a low throw from second base, and it gets away. 2 runs will come home to score. And Middletown is able to take a 3-0 lead. It was a slow developing double play as the runner from second base shielded McMillan for as long as he possibly could. It was a good throw from McMillan into second base, but the runner from first bearing down on Joe White. White had to rush the throw, and it one-hopped the glove of Scott DiCapo, ended up in foul ground, and that allowed a second run to score. And now 3-0 the score with a man at second base and still just one out.
That's certainly a rough situation there with that overthrow, giving up that extra run. Now you find yourself down early. In these tournaments, the first 3 games are the most important, securing that advantage for the championship.
Quick 2 strikes on the next batter, Jordan Swilling, 0-2 the count. So that one goes as a fielder's choice for Griffin Bremer. He reaches second base on an error, one of the runs earned, one of them unearned. But it is now a 3-0 Middletown lead, still here in the top of the first inning. The next pitch in from Lynch misses up high. The count goes to 1-2 on the Middletown first baseman. Stands continuing to fill up here at the ballpark. The 1-2 pitch, it is hit in the air. Not deep on the infield. Mike Caffarella, playing third base today, ranges in to make the catch. And there is the second out of the inning. It is a little bit of a different looking Milford defense tonight with Jeff Bazazzi behind the plate. Mike Caffarella at third, Andrew McMillan at short, Joe White at second, Scott DiCapua at first, left to right in the outfield. It is Matt DeCina, Brendan Pounds, and Blake Hill. The pitch on the way into Jordan Mormile. John Mormile, excuse me. That pitch fouled away. Nothing in one the count. 2 outs in the inning. That runner remaining at second base, the runner Griffin Bremer. A long look in now for Kevin Lynch, who has had a tough go of it here in this top of the first, looking to end it right here. Here's the pitch. Misses. Count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. It's been 28 pitches so far in this first inning for Kevin Lynch. Bremer leads off of second, 1 ball and 1 strike the count. The pitch is hit out of play just over the protective netting here behind home plate.
And I'll tell you, Tim, it's a good thing they have this protective netting surrounding all the stands behind home plate. A lot of balls coming this way throughout the tournament.
Lynch now 1 strike away from ending this top of the first inning. His 1-2 pitch, and it is swung on and missed for strike 3, and the top of the first comes to an end, but not before. Middletown sends 6 men to the plate. 3 of them come around to score, and after half an inning, it is Middletown over Milford by a score of 3-0. It is Post 59 who will take their first swings of the game when we return here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Well, not exactly the beginning to this game that Coach DeVito and Post 59 was hoping for. 3 runs allowed on 2 hits in that top of the first inning, but Lynch finally able to bring it to an end, and now the offense will have to play catch-up. Certainly the good news for Milford is offense has not been a problem so far in these regionals. Of course, the Mercy Rule game in their second game here in regional tournament play. They were able to come away with 5 runs and a victory yesterday. They will need to generate some good offense here tonight, trailing by 3 before they take their first swing. As now Matt DeCina comes to the plate, the first batter to go up against Luke Sorensen, the starting pitcher for Post 75.
Matt DeCina has the 5th best batting average of the tournament, of .462 in the Northeast Regionals.
Sorensen, a left-handed pitcher out there on the mound facing this left-handed heavy Milford offense. The first pitch into DeCina is low for ball 1. DeCina overall in 2014, Batting average of .418. He has continued to be a revelation here in this lineup this season, just so consistent all season long. Turns to bunt on the second pitch from Sorensen, pulls it back but takes a strike. 1-1 the count. The wind up and the pitch. It is up high, 2-1 now the count. Sorensen, a pretty big target out there on the mound, 6'1", 180 pounds. He is a product of Middletown High School, a recent graduate. Speaking to the coaching staff from Middletown prior to the game, they said they really don't have an ace. They just basically piece it together with their entire pitching staff from game to game. The 2-ball, 1-strike pitch into Decina is a called strike 2. Again, we saw Decina turn as if he wanted to bunt, and instead took another called strike, so that evens the count at 2-2. Sorensen staring over his glove, getting the sign from his battery mate. The two struggling to get on the same page, so Sorensen steps off. Has the sign he wants now into the windup. Here is the 2-2 pitch, and it misses low. That will fill up the count to Decina.
Luke Sorensen actually pitched the first game for Middletown in the victory against Essex. A 4-2 victory. He went 6 innings and gave up no runs in that game. And only 3 hits given up by Sorensen.
About to deliver a payoff pitch into Matt Decina. Here it is, and it misses high for ball 4. Decina works the walk. Milford has their first man on here in the bottom of the first inning.
Batting second, shortstop number 2, Andrew.
That walk for Decina now his 24th of the season, which by far leads this post-59 team. And good speed on the bases ahead of Andrew McMillan, who gets the start at shortstop tonight. He turns to bunt, pulls the bat back, and takes ball 1. Defensively for post 75 tonight, it's Chris Carty behind the plate with Will Woods at third, Lawrence Hill at short, Malcolm Elaine at second, and Jordan Swilling at first. Left to right in the outfield, Griffin Bremer, Nick Roy, and John Mormile. A courtesy check over at first base. Decina did not have a big lead. He gets back standing. Third baseman Woods cheating in on the grass. They have Decina now picked off, caught in a rundown between first and second. Now racing towards the second base bag. He tries to elude the tag, but cannot. Tagged out on the base paths. A base running mistake right there, getting picked off by the lefty, Luke Sorensen, and now the bases are empty with 1 out.
And that is a rare mistake by post 59, especially Matt Decina. And that's the last thing you want, trailing 3-0 in the bottom of the first.
Something you always have to be conscious of with a lefty on the mound. They typically have a pretty good pickoff move. Now the 1-0 pitch into Andrew McMillan is popped up in foul ground off the third base side, racing over. The pitcher trying to call off the play, but it is the third baseman, Will Woods, who finally takes charge and makes the catch. It is a foul out by McMillan, and quickly now there are 2 away.
Batting third, the designated hitter, number 7, Dan Mantoni.
It was Malcolm Elaine, the second baseman, who finally applied the tag on Matt Decina after he wriggled around in that rundown. But there are 2 outs now here in the bottom of the first inning, and it's up to Dan Mantoni, who operates out of the DH spot in tonight's game. He takes the first pitch inside for ball 1. Dan Mantoni, right now the number 1 hitter in terms of batting average in this tournament. Sorensen ready to deliver the 1-0 pitch. Here it is. It is lined down the left field line, but it's a foul ball.
Yeah, that's quite unbelievable. A 600 average, 6 for 10 at the plate in the regional tournament.
I heard from a couple of different people prior to the game that pitchers have done their best to try to pitch around Mantoni out of this number 3 spot, but he has just found ways to get on base. About to see a 1-1 pitch now. Sorensen misses outside and high.
Looks like Middletown already has some warm-up action.
2-1 the count, 2 down, and the base is empty here in the bottom of the first. The next pitch into Mantoni is fought off foul. Out of play off towards the right side. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs in the inning. Milford trailing 3-0. Sorensen off the back of the pitcher's mound, now climbs back up. Mantoni ready to see another pitch. Sorensen, the high leg kick, now delivers and misses outside. Yeah, judging from what we heard out of the coaches for Middletown prior to this game, it really doesn't seem like they expect to get a lot of innings out of the guys they put out there in the starting rotation. They really, truly try to piece it together with the entire staff from game to game. Maybe doing that again today. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Now it is lined out to the gap in left center field. That gets down for a hit. Trying to cut it off is the left fielder Bremer. A wide turn at first base for Mantoni. He will retreat. Milford not wanting to risk making 2 outs on the bases in this first inning. So Mantoni will hold up with a long 2-out single.
Second baseman, number 14.
Mantoni just adding to that tournament batting average. That'll up it to 777 in the regional tournament.
And it's David Ortiz-esque numbers here in the playoffs being put up by Dan Mantoni, who now will take his lead off of first base ahead of Joe White, who will get a chance to bat here in the first. And a quick pickoff throw over there. And even without a big lead, Mantoni was slow to react. Luke Sorensen with a very old-time baseball kind of delivery. Not a lot of heat on any of these pitches. A lot of leg and torso in that delivery.
Remind me never to do math on air again. It's a 636 is Dan Mantoni's batting average in the tournament.
The 0-1 pitch into White misses now. 1-1 the count. That is why we call baseball and we don't teach math.
That's right. That's why we use calculators.
1 ball and 1 strike the count. The next pitch on the way, and it misses down and away in the dirt. Mantoni remains at first base. Now a 2-1 count on Joe White, occupying the cleanup spot in the Milford batting order. It is a different looking lineup without Kevin Martinez out there. But Joe White capable of filling this spot. Right now he pops one up out towards second base. Settling underneath is Elaine. He makes the catch for the out that ends the inning. So Milford able to get 2 men on base in this inning, but the pickoff certainly hurting, and they are unable to score. We're through 1 full inning now from Middletown, Connecticut, and it is the host team with a 3-0 lead over Milford here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Back here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Before we get started here with the top of the second inning, Tom Nappy has a recap of today's Red Sox-Angels game.
Well, the Red Sox improved to 52-65. They get the 3-1 victory over the Angels. Ruby De La Rosa picks up his 4th win of the season. Koji Uehara with his 25th save of the season. Yoheda Cespedes with the home run in the game.
Nice to see a good start out of De La Rosa, particularly on the road where he has struggled. Back here at live action in Middletown, Connecticut, it is a 1 ball, 1 strike count to the leadoff batter of this inning for post 75, Nick Roy. Kevin Lynch looking for a smoother inning here in the second after facing 7 men back in the first inning. It is a 2 ball, 1 strike count now on Nick Roy, the starting center fielder. Lynch into the windup. Here is the pitch. It's hit on the ground towards shortstop. McMillan waiting for it, fields and throws to first base for the first out here. So the leadoff man retired. That gets some cheers out of the Milford crowd, who are seated for the most part in front of our position here, in front of the press box. The Milford faithful traveling well as always, even all the way out here to Middletown, Connecticut. A little more than an hour and a half drive from Milford, Mass, as now the number 9 man, Elaine, hits one on the ground to third base, fielded by Caffarella, and a good throw across the diamond. Malcolm Elaine out on just one pitch, and 2 very quick ground outs to open up this second inning. Turns the lineup over now. Lawrence Hill getting his second look at Kevin Lynch. He singled to lead off the top of the first inning, ended up coming around to score. Takes the first pitch up and away for ball 1. Three runs on 2 hits so far for Middletown. No runs on 1 hit and 1 error for Milford post 59. That error charged to Joe White at second base. 1-1 the count to Hill. And the next pitch on the way from Kevin Lynch, and it's down low. 2 balls and 1 strike. Lynch taking a long time, operating with Basazzi. Jeff Basazzi hasn't gotten a whole lot of work of late. Michael Ryan becoming a fixture in the lineup and behind the plate. Another ball hit on the ground, again to shortstop. McMillan on the move, makes the play, and a good throw to first base. And a much better inning for Kevin Lynch here in the second. He sets them down 1-2-3. We head to the bottom half of the inning, 3-0 Middletown over Milford. You're listening to coverage of Milford Legion baseball here in the Northeast Regionals on First Class Radio. It will be batters 5, 6, and 7 due up for post 59 here in the bottom of the second inning. Blake Hill getting things started against Luke Sorensen, who pitched around a walk and a hit in the first inning. Was helped out by a pickoff. Blake Hill swinging at the first pitch. He lines it for a base hit out into left field, just in front of Griffin Bremer.
Batting 6th, center fielder number 1, Brendan Pounds.
Blake Hill not wasting any time, sending that first pitch he saw of the inning out into left field. Not an overly hard hit ball, but certainly did the job, just getting down on the green ahead of Bremer.
Blake Hill 2 for 12 in the tournament overall.
And now here is Brendan Pounds getting a start here in regional action. Out in center field and batting out of this number 6 spot in the lineup.
Tim, we talk about the loss of Kevin Martinez. It really doesn't seem to have affected Milford in this tournament. They seem to be filling his role nicely.
The pitch to Pounds is hit on the ground to third base. It's bobbled by the third baseman. The throw to second gets there just in time. They're able to cut down the lead runner in Blake Hill. It didn't look like they were going to have a chance at second base, as Will Woods couldn't play it cleanly. Just slung it over to second base. The throw even kind of handcuffed Malcolm Elaine, but somehow they were just able to secure the out prior to the slide of Blake Hill.
That was a good recovery by Woods to at least get 1 out.
So Hill erased from the bases. Pounds safe on the fielder's choice. 1 out now ahead of Scott DiCapo, who gets the start at first base. Immediately taking off is Brendan Pounds. They throw to first base, and now down to second, and the throw's not in time. So again, they had a runner picked off, but this time Brendan Pounds just put his head down and ran full board to second base, and it paid off as he slid in just ahead of the throw from the first baseman, Swilling.
That was a close play. I'm surprised Pounds beat that out.
So not exactly conventional, but Pounds gets the steal to put himself in scoring position. And again, you're just going to have to, if you're one of these Milford runners, be very aware of this pickoff move out of Sorensen. The 1-0 pitch now on the way to DeCapua. He takes it for a called strike.
Just about everyone in this Milford lineup is a threat to steal.
1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out in the inning, and Brendan Pounds now with a big lead off of second base. Starts to hear the footsteps behind him, though, from the second baseman, and quickly makes his way back to the bag. But will creep back out again with Sorensen coming to his set position. Now will deliver to the plate, and DeCapua gets on top of that pitch and hits it down the left field line for a fair ball. Hitting third base and coming to the plate is Brendan Pounds. He will score. It is an RBI single for Scott DeCapua, and Milford is now on the scoreboard. They trail now 3-1.
Nice piece of hitting by DeCapua, just enough to get Pounds around.
Batting the eighth, third baseman number 6, Michael.
Making the play all the more important that Pounds was able to just get in ahead of that throw to second base despite the pickoff throw. It shows you the kind of speed that Pounds has that he can use on the bases. Ends up coming around to score on that RBI single. Now DeCapua at first base, still just 1 out in the inning. And Mike Caffarella at the plate takes the first pitch for ball 1. Caffarella playing third base tonight. And another pickoff throw over to first base. And they're going to call the balk. The throw did get to first base in time to pick off Scott DeCapua, who got himself all tangled up in his footing. But it looks like the first base umpire ruled the balk call, so DeCapua will head down to second base. A break for post 59.
That was a big break, and maybe Sorensen turned so fast he just forgot to take the foot off the mound.
The coaching staff for post 75 coming out to argue, but to no avail. The coaching staff will continue to get their say all the way back to the dugout. Middletown occupying the third base dugout, Milford on the first base side. It's still a 1-0 count to Caffarella, and now the next pitch misses outside. DeCapua now in scoring position at second base with 1 out.
And just when you think it's going to be another post 59 base running mistake, it pans out for him.
DeCapua didn't have a particularly large lead either. Like I say, he just ended up getting a little bit caught up in the footing as he headed back to the base, but fortunately for Scott, the balk was ruled, and he ends up getting a free trip down to second base. DeCapua restricted somewhat in his running on the base as he wears a very heavy brace on the right knee after suffering a pretty serious injury during the Milford High School football season. The next pitch on the way from Sorensen, it misses once again. Now a 3-ball, no-strike count to Caffarella. Mike has certainly seen an uptick in his playing time here in the playoffs. The batting average now overall in 2014 up to 243. Ahead 3-0, the count now 3-1 as that pitch is right across the middle. Caffarella taking all the way. Strikeouts have been an issue for Caffarella this season, 16 of them in 37 at-bats. He's walked 5 times. Still ahead in the count, 3-1, and he can add a tally to that walk category as ball 4 is issued up high. Caffarella working his 6th walk of the year down to first base. 2 on with 1 out now for post 59 ahead of the number 9 hitter, Jeff Basazzi.
They're going to have a talk on the mound here with Sorensen, try to settle him down a little bit. Last thing you want to see is Milford get any kind of momentum and get back in this game. Let's not forget, Middletown, this is a must-win game for them. They had their loss in game 2 to Rocky Hill, Cromwell, Portland, post 105, 13-0 loss for Middletown in that game. That was quite a surprise to everybody.
It's always interesting to see a game like this, Milford not facing elimination, knowing they have that spot in the finals already sewn up for tomorrow. Middletown needing a win to move on. How will that affect the momentum of the game? How will that affect the intensity on both sides? Can Milford match that desperation that Middletown feels? There were certainly times in the game prior to the finals in the state tournament where Milford could not match Kingston's intensity and desperation, and that is in the end what cost them that game. We'll see if this particular game here tonight falls into that same category. After the conference, the first pitch from Sorensen into Basazi misses for ball 1.
I'll tell you one thing, they're not going to make it easy for Middletown here tonight.
They have the tying runs aboard here with only 1 out. The 1-0 pitch into Basazi is swung on and missed. This is only the 8th game of the season that Basazi has played in. Only 16 at-bats prior to this game here tonight, a 125 average in those games. He does have 4 runs batted in, however. Takes a cut at the 1-1 pitch and misses. Matt DeCina and the top of the Milford order waiting on deck. 3-1 the score. Runners at first and second for post 59 here in the bottom of the second. Here's the next pitch from Sorensen. It's hit in the air out to right field. Ranging in is Moormile. Now coming out is Elaine, the second baseman, just a step or two on to the outfield grass. He makes the catch. And now there are 2 down.
Sazi was taking some big swings, really wanted to try to get a good piece of a pitch.
DeCapua remains at second base with Caffarella at first, and now a chance for Matt DeCina, who walked back in the first inning but was then picked off. Lefty versus lefty battle as Sorensen delivers, and the pitch misses outside for ball 1. Having to slide over towards the right-handed batter's box was Chris Carty, the Middletown catcher. It's been a slow developing early stage of this game. Both pitchers throwing a fair amount of pitches in these first 2 innings. We are again only in the bottom of the second. Milford now out hitting Middletown 3-2, but they trail in the run column 3-1. The 2-0 pitch on the way to DeCina. It is hit in the air foul off to the right and out of play. Two balls and 1 strike with 2 outs. Matt DeCina continuing to hit extremely well in these 2014 playoffs. This pitch is hit on the ground towards first base. It's snagged on the backhand by Swilling. He will take it to the first base bag himself for the out that ends the inning. So Milford will settle for just the 1 run here in the bottom of the second. Through 2 now here from Middletown, Connecticut. The score now Middletown 3 and Milford 1. You are listening to coverage of Milford Legion Baseball here on First Class Radio and streaming online at WMRCDailyNews.com. Tim Coette and Tom Nappy back on the call for Milford Legion Baseball here on First Class Radio. We're entering inning number 3 with Middletown post 75 leading Milford by a score of 3-1. Kevin Lynch coming off of a nice and easy 1-2-3 second inning. Quite a contrast between innings 1 and 2 for Lynch. Needed 30 pitches to labor through the first inning, allowing 3 runs. Needed only 9 pitches to get through the second inning, getting 3 quick ground outs. The pitch on the way to Flommer is hit in the air out to right center field. 3 Milford defenders converge, but it's the center fielder, Brendan Pounds, who makes the catch. And it is now a 5th consecutive batter retired for Kevin Lynch, who is trying to settle into this outing.
And a quick update, the game earlier today, Rocky Hill Cromwell beat Bangor Maine 10-0, so Rocky Hill Cromwell is the 3rd team left in the tournament.
Next batter up, Will Woods. He takes the first pitch outside for ball 1. Drove in a run with a single back in the first inning. 1-0 pitch from Lynch is hit foul down the right field line, out of play. So now just 3 teams remain active in this tournament. It could just be 2 left if Milford can come away with a victory here tonight. However, they trail in these early innings. Now the 1-1 pitch in from Lynch misses for ball 2. So RCP still alive despite suffering that loss to Post 59 yesterday. And quite an interesting trip through the tournament for Bangor, Tom, ending up with 2 mercy rule losses. Of course, the one to Milford earlier in the tournament, and losing today by mercy rules to end up being eliminated, as now Woods drives one into the gap in right center field. That rolls all the way to the wall, and Woods will rumble into second base with a stand-up double. Woods listed at 6'3", 265 pounds. Not quite as fleet of foot as some of the runners in this Middletown lineup, but really put a charge into that pitch, hit it all the way close to the 380-foot sign out in right center field, and had no problem taking the 1-out double.
He's now 6 for 12 in the tournament, which would put him at a 500, and that I know I'm right on.
We always like easy math.
Yes.
A runner in scoring position with 1 out, and now Chris Carty, the catcher, up for the second time. He walked in his first at bat. Takes the first pitch for a ball a little bit high. Kevin Lynch now will once again operate out of the stretch. That double broke up that streak of 5 consecutive batters retired. It's actually 6 consecutive batters retired, getting the final 2 outs in the first, a 1-2-3 third, and getting the leadoff man here in the third before that double. The 2-0 pitch, that's in there for a called strike. And with every level that Milford has gotten to in these playoffs, we've seen the umpiring crews get larger. It went from a 2-man crew in zone play to a 3-man crew at the state tournament, now a 4-man umpiring crew, just like you see in the big leagues here in this Northeast Regional Tournament, stationed at first, second, and third, and of course behind the plate.
This stadium's almost a big league stadium.
3-1 now, the count to Chris Carty. Here's the next pitch. It's tapped foul off towards the on-deck circle for Middletown. The count runs full. Griffin Bremer, the left fielder, waits on deck. Both bullpen areas quiet for now. Kevin Lynch doing a little stretching on the mound as he waits for Carty to settle back into the right side of the batter's box. Now the 3-2 pitch on the way. This is lined out to center field. It's going to get down for a hit. They throw up the stop sign at third base as Pounds was able to get to it quickly. Sent the throw all the way to Basazzi, who had moved over towards the first base side of the plate to keep that ball in front of him. It goes as a single for Chris Carty and puts runners at the corners now with 1 out ahead of Griffin Bremer.
It's just a tough part of the Middletown order to face with the second, third, and fourth hitters.
Bremer reaching on a fielder's choice back in the first inning, a throwing error by the second baseman. Joe White allowed him to get to second base. Here's a line drive out to left field, but on to make the catch was Matt DeCina, and they hold Woods at third base. That was hit hard, but DeCina was able to get there quickly and snag it on the line for the second out of the inning.
First baseman, number 8.
I was surprised they didn't try to send Woods and force a play at the plate. I know he doesn't have the most speed, but there was a chance he could have beat that out.
Kevin Lynch up over 50 pitches now in his outing. Still has some work to do here in the third, about to face Jordan Swilling, the first baseman. with runners at first and third base. The first pitch in low. Basazi able to keep it out in front. Jordan Swilling listed at 6'6", 215 pounds. Product of Cromwell High School. Graduated back in 2013. Ahead in the count, 1-0 as Lynch surveys the bases. Now comes to the plate, and the pitch misses high.
It's interesting too, he's the only Cromwell High School player on the Middletown roster. Most of the Cromwell High Schoolers, of course, playing for RCP Cromwell post 105. But Middletown could be playing tomorrow.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. In at the knees for a called strike. Tough pitch by Kevin Lynch, nothing that Swilling could do but watch it go by. Two balls and 1 strike, 2 outs in the inning. Runners leading off of first and second. Lynch will send a pickoff throw over to first base, which is always a dicey procedure with that runner at third. Lynch continuing to keep a close eye on Chris Carty over at first base. Now will deliver home. And this time the pitch misses inside, right around the same location as the previous pitch, which was called a strike. The count now 3-1. Lynch back into the set position. Now the pitch. And framed nicely by Basazi. It's a called strike 2. And a full count now, 3 balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs in the inning. And a chance for Carty to get a head start at first base. Lynch, no need to continue to check over there, just focus on the man at the plate. The runner takes off, the pitch is not close and misses for ball 4. Almost hit Swilling. It's the 3rd walk of the game now allowed by Kevin Lynch. And he will face a bases loaded jam as John Moormile, the right fielder, comes to the plate. Lynch has now walked 21 batters on the season. 21 walks to 12 strikeouts. Starts off behind against Moormile, 1-0. Now his next pitch on the way. That one hits the strike zone. 1-1 now the count. And now some action will start to get going down in the Milford bullpen. Both Cam Cosette and Alex Croteau making their way out to the bullpen area as this pitch is hit off the end of the bat foul. Up onto the rooftop here, which juts out over the seats behind home plate. And the count now 1-2. Lynch right back on the pitcher's mound, ready to go against Moormile. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs in the inning. The bases are loaded with Middletown up 3-1. Here's the pitch, and it misses outside. Lynch could not get Moormile to chase. Lynch might have thought it was a called strike 3. Started to take a step towards the dugout. 2-2 now the count. The pitch on the way, and this is hit hard out into center field. It's going to drop in front of Pounds for a base hit. 1 run is home. They'll wave a second man to the plate. The throw is cut off at the pitcher's mound. It is a 2-run single for John Moormile that ups the lead for Middletown now to 5-1. Brendan Pounds just unable to cover the ground to make the catch. He made the decision to play it on a bounce instead of trying to dive, or else we could have seen more than the 2-run score.
You mentioned it earlier, Tim. Lynch is just leaving his pitches high in the zone, and Middletown's just teeing off.
Lynch 1 strike away from getting out of this inning with no harm done, but the big hit coming from the number 7 hitter, Moormile, allows both Woods and Cardy to come around to score. And after Milford had grabbed a run back in the second inning, now the deficit is up to 4. Trailing now 5-1. Runners at first and second base for Middletown, with Nick Roy now at the plate for the second time. A count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Right now it's Alex Croteau who is throwing in the bullpen. Again, we saw Cosette wander down there as well. Right now the count to Nick Roy, 1 ball and 2 strikes. So once again, Lynch trying to bring an end to the inning. Here's the pitch, and it's chopped down the third base line, but foul. Swilling the lead runner at second base with Moormile at first. 3 more hits in this inning for Post 75. They now have 5 in all. Here's another 1-2 pitch. It's hit on the ground towards shortstop. A nice bounce for Andrew McMillan, who sends the underhand toss to Joe White at second base for the force out. That ends the inning, but a big 2-run single by John Moormile brings the lead for Middletown up to 5-1 against Milford here in coverage of these Northeast Regionals right here on WMRC First Class Radio. Milford with some work to do at the plate, trailing now by a score of 5-1. They will bring batters 2, 3, and 4 to the plate here in the bottom of the third against Luke Sorensen. He allowed a run on a couple of hits and a walk back in the second inning. And they will ask Andrew McMillan to get that back of the jersey tucked in before this at-bat begins.
An interesting story we were told about Andrew McMillan. His father pitched for Middletown, Connecticut.
First pitch on the way of the at-bat on the outside corner for a strike. It was back in the 70s, we were told the story prior to the game. Ended up pitching all the way to the regionals one year, which were played in Milford, Massachusetts.
Talk about irony.
Have to imagine that despite the roots here in Middletown, that the McMillan family is staunchly behind this post-59 team, supporting Andrew all the way, but certainly a fun story. 2 balls and 1 strike now the count on Andrew McMillan, who fouled out behind third base in his first at-bat. Now ahead in the count, 3 balls and 1 strike. Andrew settling back in now in the left side batter's box. About to see another pitch from Sorensen. It's on the way, and it misses high and outside for ball 4. Milford has had their leadoff man on base now in all 3 of these innings so far.
The designated hitter, number 7, Dan Antoni.
And that's 3 walks in the game now for Sorensen. So the command hasn't exactly been razor sharp on either side. But so far Milford hasn't been able to cash in quite to the extent that Middletown has. Dan Antoni now at the plate. If he gets a hit, we will start to hear Tom Nappy squirm in his seat as he tries to update the batting average.
I think I'm done with that, unless they're easy ones.
1-0 the count. Another pickoff play at first base, and McMillan is going to be picked off. And that was a similar one to what we saw with Scott DeCapua. McMillan only about 2 steps away from the base, but completely caught off guard by the pickoff throw and ended up getting tagged out. So another really costly base running miscue from post 59. Now 2-0 the count on Dan Mantoni, batting with 1 out now and the base is empty.
I don't know why they try. Sorensen does have a great pickoff move, and he'll catch people off guard.
Now a called strike to Mantoni, bringing the count to 2-1.
Doesn't it almost look like, though, when he does that pickoff move, he does leave his foot near the mound?
Most major league players will tell you that just about every left-handed pitcher in the game balks when he throws over to first base. It's a very fine line when it comes to those left-handed pitchers.
They do have an easier time going to first, that's for sure.
3-1 now the count to Mantoni. Sorensen taking his time in between pitches now deals to the plate and gets a swing and a miss from Mantoni. He strikes out. Now the count now goes to 3-2, pardon me. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out in the inning. Now the 3-2 pitch on the way, and this one is hit in the air on the infield. Calling for it is the third baseman, Will Woods, settling underneath. He makes the catch. Mantoni retired now on the pop out to third. 2 outs, and the base is empty here in the bottom of the third. That leaves it up to Joe White, who popped out to second base in his first plate appearance. White about now to see the first pitch of the at-bat. This is high for ball 1. The sun just about fading away off in the distance now here at Middletown, Connecticut. The next pitch into White misses low. Now 2-0 the count. We're at the William Pomfret Stadium complex. This field right now that Milford is playing on, called Palmer Field. Just an absolutely terrific facility here in Middletown. It really has the feel of a pro baseball stadium. Seating all the way around the infield. Picnic table seating down the left field line. Also bleachers out in right field with a terrific digital scoreboard out beyond the left field fence. Absolute top-notch place to watch a baseball game. 3 balls and no strikes now the count to Joe White, looking to keep this third inning alive and give Blake Hill a chance to come to the plate. He waits on deck. Sorensen back into his windup. Here is the pitch, and it is a called strike. Joe Whitehead started down the first base line but gets the bad news. We'll step right back in. Sorensen's 3-1, and this is hit off the end of the bat, past the dive of the second baseman Elaine, out into right field. A 2-out single for Joe White, who took a very wide turn around first base, but now will head back.
Blake Hill.
4 hits now in the game for post 59. Puts a runner at first base with 2 outs ahead of Blake Hill, who, as one of those 4 hits on the night, he singled to lead off the second inning. Ended up getting removed from the bases on a fielder's choice play. Swings at the first pitch, grounds it through the right side of the infield for a base hit. Again, just eluding the glove of Malcolm Elaine at second base, this time towards the first base side. Elaine making the dive towards the second base bag to try to reel in the single from Joe White, now towards the first base side. But each time, Milford finding a hole.
This is where McMillan getting picked off really hurts you. Could be bases loaded with 1 out right now.
Absolutely. Instead, it's runners at first and second with 2 outs. Brendan Pounds with a chance now with 2 aboard. He reached on a fielder's choice and stole a base in unconventional fashion. Technically, Sorensen has picked off 3 runners in this game Pounds just kept on running and managed to get to second base safely. Takes the first pitch for ball 1 in this at bat. Sorensen not comfortable out there on the mound right now. He steps off, wants to go through the signs again. No doubt Sorensen and Chris Carty, the catcher, cognizant of the fact that Joe White is now down there at second base, peeking in at the signs. The next pitch into Pounds misses low. Pounds steps out of the box, now back in, ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. Pounds coming into play tonight here in these regionals, batting over 300, or an even 300. 3 hits and 10 at bats so far, and from what I was told prior to the game, has really hit the ball hard in just about all of his at bats, so starting to come on, getting a chance to have some playing time here in this Northeast Regional Tournament. The 2-1 pitch now into Pounds. And misses a little bit up and a little bit outside. 3 balls and 1 strike, the count.
I have to ask, did you do that math in your head?
For all the listeners, no, I sure did. 3-1 now, the count. Runners at first and second. The pitch to Pounds is hit in the air out to right field. Ranging back is Mormile. Several steps in front of the warning track, he is able to make the catch for the out that ends the inning. So for the second straight inning, Milford strands 2 runners on the bases. We've played 3 now here from William Pomfret Stadium, and Milford trails Middletown by a score of 5-1 here on coverage of Milford Legion baseball in the Northeast Regionals on First Class Radio. Kevin Lynch's day is done. 3 innings pitched for the starter. He allowed 5 runs on 5 hits.
Thank you.
So Alex Croteau now out there trying to get Milford through these middle innings. It's been an interesting season for Alex Croteau. This is now his 8th appearance of the year. We saw him a ton out of the bullpen in the first half of the season, operating very well in this middle relief role. Struggled a bit in a couple of appearances, and it has been a very long time now since we have seen Alex Croteau out on the pitcher's mound. We have not seen him at all so far in the playoffs. You'd have to go back into the regular season to find the last time we saw him in action, but he will have a chance to pitch here in the top of the 4th inning, finishing his warm-up tosses now. He will face batters 9, 1, and 2. Malcolm Elaine, the second baseman, to lead it off. So Kevin Lynch completely out of the game.
Baseman, number 3.
Brendan Pounds remains out in center field. Elaine now starting to dig in around the right side batter's box. Croteau into his windup. Here is the pitch, and it is up over the head of Elaine. Goes all the way to the backstop for ball 1. Croteau has a 2.69 ERA on the season. He's pitched a total of 13 innings. One ball and no strikes the count. Croteau back into the windup. Here's the pitch. This time he's able to grab the strike zone. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Misses a little bit outside. It looks as though the last time Croteau pitched may have been all the way back on June 27th. That, of course, is a date that should strike a chord with everyone. First, the 2-1 pitch. That misses inside for ball 3. That was, of course, the Mercy Rule loss for Milford to Northborough. That was their last regular season defeat. Three balls and 1 strike the count. The pitch inside, and Croteau walks his first batter as Elaine will head down to first base.
Shortstop number 4, Lawrence Hill.
So he pitched last time he pitched was the day the season turned around.
Ended up pitching just a third of an inning in that relief appearance, allowed 3 runs on 3 hits and also walked 3. So maybe going through a bit of a dead arm period. That's possibly why Coach DeVito shied away from him in the second half of the season.
When you think about how much these pitchers work between high school ball, going into Legion, playing 24 regular season games, it's a lot of pressure on the arm.
Now Croteau falling behind Lawrence Hill by a count of 2 balls and no strikes. There's no further action in the Milford bullpen right now. There's no outs in this top of the 4th inning. Runner on first base with now a 2-ball, 1-strike count on Lawrence Hill, who is 1 for 2 on the day.
It looks like they're sending Camco Setback out there to warm up.
One less pitcher for Coach DeVito to work with in his staff, with Kevin Martinez no longer with the team. The count even now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Croteau to the set, the runner takes off, the pitch is up high, no throw from Basazzi. It's an uncontested steal of second base for Malcolm Elaine. Runner in scoring position with nobody out. The 3-2 pitch now on the way, and it is hit down the third base line, but a foul ball. Lawrence Hill up now, Jared Flommer to follow. The first steal for Malcolm Elaine so far in this tournament. A close pitch on the inside edge from Croteau, but ruled ball 4, and so now a free pass to Lawrence Hill. And Alex Croteau has walked the first 2 batters he has faced here in the 4th inning. Two steals so far in the game for post 75, which puts their total in this regional tournament up to 12. But more importantly, there are 2 runners aboard at first and second base with nobody out. And we're getting to that dangerous part of the Middletown order. Jared Flommer, the designated hitter, now at the plate. He has walked and popped out so far tonight and takes the first pitch high for ball 1. At this point, these Middletown batters are going to make Croteau prove that he can throw a strike before they start swinging. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That one closer, but it's ruled ball 2. Croteau a bit too wild so far in this inning to get the benefit of any close calls from the home plate ump. Runners leading off of first and second, the 2-0 pitch. Misses low and away.
And you just wonder what the leash will be with Croteau.
Just think about that, having not worked in-game action since June 27th, almost a month and a half. The 3-0 pitch on the way, and that drops in for a called strike 1. Flommer up now, Will Woods on deck, who has had an excellent game so far. Croteau deals, and he deals a called strike 2 in at the knees. That will fill the count. Flommer setting up shop towards the back of that right side batter's box. Ready to see the 3-2 pitch, and it misses inside for ball 4, the third straight walk for Alex Croteau in this inning. And post 75 now presented with a bases loaded, no out opportunity, already leading in this game 5-1. And their hottest hitter coming to the plate with a chance to break this game open.
You think about the format of the tournament too. Just the fact that to rest guys, you pretty much need to almost give up a game.
Five consecutive days of tournament action. That's how it was in the States, again here in the regionals. Does not give you an opportunity to keep things lined up, to get your best pitchers out there for all these games. A couple of quick strikes now on Will Woods, who is 2 for 2, a single, a double, an RBI, and 2 runs scored. Batting here with the bases full and nobody out. Middletown ahead 5-1. The 0-2 pitch from Croteau, and it swung on and missed. So a huge at bat there after walking the first 3 batters of the inning. Croteau is able to get Woods on 3 pitches for the strikeout for the first out here in the 4th.
Well, I mean, you have to keep in mind he hasn't pitched in a long time, and perhaps he just needed a few batters to be able to get the ball over the plate.
Still a long way to go. Now Chris Carty at the plate. He's been on base twice so far tonight. He takes the first pitch on the inside corner for strike 1. Carty with a walk back in the first inning, a single and a run scored in the 3rd inning. The 0-1 pitch, it's a tapper off the end of the bat. It rolls foul all the way towards the Milford dugout, and Dan Mantoni will step out and grab the baseball just ahead of Jeff Basazzi and then flips it back to him playfully. Nothing in 2, the count to Carty. Croteau sets, winds and fires. The pitch misses away. Not giving Carty anything close on the 0-2 pitch. Croteau ready now with the 1-2. And it's another foul ball, this time just up over the rooftop here behind home plate. Nice crowd turning out here for the game. Of course, a very short drive for the fans here of the host city.
There has been a good amount of hotel rooms booked up by Post 59 fans.
Another 1-2 pitch. And a close one. Ruled a ball. Been a bit of a tight strike zone at times in this game. The count now 2 balls and 2 strikes with 1 out and the bases loaded. Croteau sets. The batter Chris Carty ready. Here's the pitch. And it's fouled away again. Croteau continues to try to work the inner half of the plate against the righty batter Chris Carty. And even 6 feet tall, 185 pounds. Chris Carty, a recent graduate of Xavier High School. Not the same as Xavier Brothers Academy in Massachusetts. Croteau ready with a 2-2 pitch. It misses high, up at eye level of the batter Carty, and now after Croteau was ahead in the count, 0-2, it's now a full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. No room on the bases for Carty. The payoff pitch, and it hits Carty off the knee, and that will force in a run. Already 29 pitches in the inning for Alex Croteau, only gathering 1 out so far, and now Coach DeVito out to the mound.
I'll be surprised if he doesn't take the ball here.
He hasn't made the move just yet, talking things over with both Croteau and Basazi. Cam Cosette has returned to the dugout, so he is ready to pitch if called upon.
I think he's just checking on Croteau's arm to make sure it's okay after not pitching for a while. But it looks like he's going to stay out there.
It is now a 6-1 lead for Middletown post 75. Scoring 3 runs in the first inning, 2 runs in the third, and a run so far here in the fourth inning. They have the bases still loaded, still just 1 out, and now Griffin Bremer will come to the plate. And Bremer will start off ahead in the count, 1-0. Andrew McMillan and Joe White playing deep up the middle. As the next pitch misses in low, Basazi can't find it, but it is right there at home plate. Just about a foot behind the bag, or the base, I should say. 2-0 now the count. Croteau, outside of the 3-pitch strikeout to Woods, has needed a lot of pitches in each of these at-bats. 3 of them have resulted in walks, the other in a hit by pitch. The 2-0 pitch on the outside edge for a called strike. Griffin Bremer reaching on a fielder's choice. In the first inning, a line out to left field on a hard hit ball back in the third. Here's the 2-1. It's hit foul down the third base line. Played cleanly by the Middletown third base coach, thrown back into play. Runners leading off of each base for Middletown. They have a 5-run lead right now over Milford, looking for more. Here's the pitch, and it's hit off the end of the bat, foul over towards the Milford dugout, and the count goes to 2-2.
That was a late swing there.
Dan Mantoni poised at the edge of the dugout, ready to pick up all these loose balls. Does so once again there. Here's the 2-2 pitch now from Croteau. It backs Bremer off the plate. And once again, it's a 3-ball count. Croteau in danger of forcing in another run. He comes to the set. The windup and the pitch. And another hit batter. Almost the same exact result unfolding. Hitting Chris Carty off the knee. He hits Griffin Bremer off the knee. It forces in another run, and Coach DeVito forced to come back out of the dugout, and this indeed will be the night for Alex Croteau. He will give way to Cam Cosette here in this top of the fourth inning, with Middletown now leading by a score of 7-1. We'll take a quick timeout as Cosette gets his warm-up pitches in. More action to come here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. The third pitcher on now for post 59. It is Cam Cosette. He's already pitched once in these Northeast Regionals, coming out in relief in game number 1 after Dan Mantoni pitched the first 6 innings. He made a start back in the state tournament, pitching in Milford's 4th game against Kingston. He inherits a bases-loaded 1-out situation here, is about to face Jordan Swilling, the first baseman for Middletown. Throwing his last warm-up pitch now, going over a bit of business with Jeff Basazi before facing Swilling. A rough outing for Alex Croteau, who was only able to go a third of an inning. Allowed 2 runs. Did not allow a hit, but he walked 3, hit 2 batters. Did have a strikeout. And now Cam Cosette issues a first pitch strike into Swilling. So 7 runs on the board so far for Middletown, despite only having 5 hits. They've been helped out by a grand total of 6 walks from Milford pitching, along with those 2 hit batters.
Looks like they have Blake Hill getting loose right now.
This one is hit in the air out to center field. Brendan Pounds getting settled underneath. The runner at third base tags. They will send the throw into the shortstop. Another run will cross the plate as Jared Flommer scores. It's a sacrifice fly for Jordan Swilling. And the lead for Middletown now expands to 8-1. That run charged to Alex Croteau. You cannot close the book on him yet. Still responsible for Chris Carty and Griffin Bremer on the bases. There are 2 outs now in the inning for John Mormile, who takes the first pitch well outside, and a nice job by Jeff Bazazzi to keep that pitch from going to the backstop. Mormile contributing 2 runs batted in back in the 3rd inning with a single. And he hits a line drive base hit past the glove of Mike Caffarella at 3rd. The ball is bobbled out in left field by Matt DeCina. That will allow 1 run to come in. The throw to 3rd is in time to get the out there. That will end the inning. Post 75 getting a little greedy on the bases. Chris Carty came around to score. Griffin Bremer thrown out at 3rd base trying to stretch himself into 3rd base. So the inning will end, but a lot of damage done as 4 runs come across the plate in this 4th inning for Middletown. And as we head to the bottom of the 4th, it is a 9-1 score in favor of Post 75 here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on WMRC First Class Radio. It has not been a particularly successful game for Milford pitching so far. We've seen 3 pitchers combined allow 9 runs on 6 hits. 5 of those runs charged to Kevin Lynch, the other 4 charged to Alex Croteau, whose pitching line is a regrettable one, only a 1/3 of an inning pitched. 3 walks and 2 hit batters, all of his base runners, but 1 coming around to score. So Milford with some work to do as they come to the plate here in this inning. Scott DeCapua sending a looping line drive out to left field, a dive for Griffin Bremer, but he cannot secure it in the glove. And Scott DeCapua will reach. That was just a little looper that got out into medium depth in left field. Bremer was playing deep. Raced in at top speed, went into a headlong dive. It looked like he was almost going to make a sensational catch, but just could not squeeze it.
How about Scott DeCapua, first game of the regionals, 2 for 2, has an RBI.
Now, Mike Caffarella, the batter. Caffarella walked in his first at bat. And now that one's spinning Caffarella off the plate. 2 balls and no strikes.
Little chin music.
DeCapua nearly getting picked off of first base his last time on, but ended up making his way to second on a balk call. So he will stay snug up against that first base bag. As now the count goes to 3-0 to Caffarella. No outs in the inning. Luke Sorensen out there continuing to work on the mound and now delivers a called strike on the inside edge. Three balls and 1 strike. Here is the pitch, and it misses outside and low for ball 4. Milford in desperate need of base runners, and they've seen their first 2 men reach here in the bottom half of the 4th.
Catcher number 18, Jeff Bazazzi.
So now Bazazzi will come to the plate. He popped out to second base his first time up.
Milford is leading the regional tournament in pitching. Coming into this game, at least, they had a .216 ERA. They were 3-0, 2 saves, 20 strikeouts. Overall, pitching-wise, they were leading the tournament heading into Game 4 today. The good thing about the World Series, Tim, if they get to that level, there is days off in the World Series.
In the meantime, the cheer you hear thrown up from the crowd is for Luke Sorensen, who will come out of this game. After allowing the first 2 men to reach here in the bottom of the 4th inning, he will give way to the bullpen. So now both starting pitchers no longer a factor. We told you that this could very well become a bullpen game on the Middletown side. Milford has typically enjoyed good success against bullpens across the board so far in 2014. They'll have an opportunity to face Middletown's bullpen for the rest of this game. We'll tell you who the new pitcher is when we come back from this break here on coverage of Milford Legion baseball in the Northeast Regionals here on WMRC First Class Radio. The new pitcher on for Middletown post 75 is Scott Marks. Marks listed at 6'2", 210 pounds, a righty thrower. One of the younger members of this post 75 team. As a matter of fact, it looks as though he is in fact the youngest, the only player listed on their roster with a year of graduation of 2016. Called upon here to hold things down on the pitching side for Middletown after some good innings early on from Luke Sorensen, who pitched the first 3 innings plus. Allowed a total of 6 hits, just 1 run. He did walk 4, however, did not have a strikeout. Comes out of the game after a single and a walk to open this 4th inning, and now Marks has a quick 0-2 count on Jeff Basazzi. Middletown leading Milford by a score of 9-1 as Basazzi hits this off the end of the bat into the gap in right center field. That gets down, it's going to roll to the wall. Hustling around third base is Scott DeCapua. Right behind him is Caffarella. He will be held at third base as DeCapua crosses the plate with the 2nd Milford run. An RBI double for Jeff Basazzi, and it brings the score now to 9-2.
Post 59 is not going to go down easy. They haven't gone down easy since mid-season, where they had the giant turnaround.
That run charged to the starting pitcher Sorensen. As now first pitch swinging, Matt DeCina sends one out to center field. That will drop in for a base hit and bring in Mike Caffarella from third. And now you can close the book officially on the starter Sorensen. Both of those runs charged to the starter. Gives up a total of 3 runs in his outing. The first 5 batters have reached base here in this bottom of the 4th inning for post 59. It's now a 9-3 score, still a big mountain to climb. They have runners at the corners with no outs here in the 4th.
Keep in mind, Middletown's relying on relief pitchers this game as well.
Andrew McMillan at the plate now, a walk in his last at bat. He swings at the first pitch and lines it hard, but foul off to the left. And so far, these batters have been ready to swing the bat early in counts against Scott Marks. All these lefties in the Milford order happy to see a right-handed pitcher out there now. The 0-1 pitch in for a called strike. Andrew McMillan, who has been leading post 59 in batting average for the entire 2014 year, continues to do so with an overall batting average of .432. Takes a pitch outside to bring the count to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Andrew McMillan and Matt DeCina, the only two batters with batting averages up over that 400 mark. A 1-2 pitch on the way. A close one that misses for a ball. That draws the strong disagreement from the Middletown crowd. That was a very close pitch. Brings the count to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Nobody out in the inning. Runners at first and third. The next pitch is hit in the air out to left field, but it is foul. It touches down out of play over by the concession stand area. Concession stand positioned down the left field line, again with some seating options over there, some park benches, picnic tables, also room for you to bring your own lawn chair. The count remains 2-2 to Andrew McMillan. Here's the next pitch. Another foul ball, this one off behind the plate. It reaches the seats, takes a bounce off the bleachers. No souls over there brave enough to try to make the catch on the fly. Andrew McMillan putting on a tough at bat, looking for a pitch that he can drive to the outfield with Jeff Basazzi over there at third base. Also DeCina aboard at first. The runners hold as this pitch is hit high in the air, out to right field deep. Racing back is the right fielder. Mormile can't get there. It's going to roll to the wall. Into score comes Jeff Basazzi. Digging around third base is DeCina. They will hold him up. A late stop sign from Coach DeVito. It is a double and an RBI for Andrew McMillan. And you could just see that developing as McMillan continued to foul off pitch after pitch. He finally got a good one and drove it deep out there to right center field. It was a good bid by John Mormile out there in right field. He nearly tracked it down, but it got up over his glove, and it's another run for Milford. Now it's a 9-4 game.
And there's still no outs. Nice rally here for post 59.
2 men in scoring position in front of Dan Mantoni, who takes the first pitch for ball 1. We've seen 2 singles, 2 doubles, and a walk so far out of post 59 in this bottom of the 4th inning. Dan Mantoni takes a big rip at the 1-0 pitch, but fouls it straight down over the plate. It was an 8-run lead for post 75 when this inning began. It is now down to a 5-run lead. Scott Marks called upon out of the Middletown bullpen. He has not been able to get an out so far. He's allowed 2 inherited runners to score. And he's allowed both doubles in this inning as well as a single. Dealing with Milford's hottest hitter so far in these Northeast Regionals in Dan Mantoni. He was retired on a pop-out his last time up. Here's the pitch. It misses. 2 balls and 1 strike the count. Mantoni officially 1 for 2 in the game. Did have a single back in the first inning. A long look in for Scott Marks. Now he comes to the set. Here's the pitch, and it's hit right back up the middle. It gets through for a base hit. Into score comes Matt DeCina. They will wave Andrew McMillan to the plate. Here comes the throw. It is cut off. A 2-run single for Dan Mantoni, and it is now a 9-6 game. 5 runs scoring so far in this bottom of the 4th inning for post 59, and there are still no outs.
This has been quite an inning, and it just shows you how good all around this post 59 lineup is. It started off with the bottom of the lineup. You get a single, a walk, then an RBI double by Basazzi. DeCina comes in with the RBI single, and McMillan with the RBI double, and then Mantoni a 2 RBI single. And it shows you the pitching problems Middletown is having too. And losing that game in game 2, 13-0, really hurts because they used 3 different pitchers in that game, and due to Legion rules, a pitcher can only throw a certain amount of innings in a 3-day span. So they're having some struggles of their own.
A long conference on the pitcher's mound between the coaching staff and Scott Marks. They will keep him in the game. They do have some more action now warming up in their bullpen. Looks like Brandon Windsor may be the reliever that's currently loosening for post 75, but this will continue to be Scott Marks' game for now. The lone runner on the base paths now is Dan Mantoni. He is at first base with Joe White at the plate, who takes the first pitch for ball 1.
Rob O'Keefe was hoping that he didn't have to make a Middletown highlight reel, but now he has some Milford highlights he could throw in there.
And certainly the potential for a lot more highlights to come in this game. We are still only in the 4th inning. Coming up on 2 hours old in this game. We haven't seen a game stretch beyond the 2 hour and 20-minute mark so far in this tournament for Milford. I don't believe that is going to be the case tonight.
No, I think it's going to be far from that.
Two 2-0 the count to Joe White. Mantoni a big secondary lead as White sends a pitch in the air foul off to the left. Two balls, 1 strike, still no outs in this bottom of the 4th inning. Marks sets at the belt. He winds and fires, and the pitch misses away. 3 balls and 1 strike. Blake Hill waiting in the on-deck circle.
I think this inning answers the question if post 59 ever gives up.
Next pitch in is hit on the ground towards the right side. Elaine makes the play at second base, the throw to first, and finally, Middletown is able to collect an out in this inning. The first 6 straight batters reached to open this 4th inning. White grounds out 4-3. It does move Mantoni along into scoring position now at second base. And now an 8th man will come to the plate in the person of Blake Hill, who is 2 for 2 so far tonight. A pair of singles. Swings at the first pitch, hits it on the ground. A more simple play for the second baseman, Malcolm Elaine. Barely had to move to field that ground ball, makes the quick throw to first base, and now there are 2 outs in the inning. Mantoni continues on his trek around the bases. He's now at third.
Well, post 59 has batted around for the 10th time this season.
Brendan Pounds, a chance to drive in another run if he can send a ball out into the field of play for a base hit. He takes the first pitch for a strike. Pounds so far tonight has reached on a fielder's choice and flied out to center field. Here's the 0-1, a check swing. He went around. The home plate umpire making the ruling himself. And Pounds is down in the count, 0-2. A chance now for Marks to bring a quick end to the inning. Nothing in 2 the count. Here is the pitch, and it misses outside, not close. Not a tempting one for Brendan Pounds. Scott Marks ready with his 1-2 pitch, and a wave and a miss from Pounds. The ball gets away from the catcher, Carty. His throw to first base gets there in time. A close play with all that speed for Brendan Pounds, but it ends up going as a strikeout to end the inning. But Milford sends all 9 of their men to the plate in this 4th inning. And all of a sudden now, what was once a 9-1 score is now a 9-6 score, with Middletown still out in front. You're listening to coverage of the Northeast Regionals here on WMRC First Class Radio.
Here is the winning number in the 50.
It has become a ball game again here in Middletown, Connecticut. Milford once staring up at an 8-run deficit. It is a much more manageable 3-run deficit now as we head into inning number 5. Cam Cosette, who was able to get the final 2 outs of the 4th inning, back out now to start the 5th. And the first batter of the inning is Nick Roy, the only member of the post 75 batting order to not come to the plate in the 4th inning. He sends the first pitch foul down the right field line, a long run for Blake Hill, but he had no chance. Tim Coet and Tom Nappy here on the call for Milford Legion Baseball on WMRC First Class Radio. Also, Rob O'Keefe and Milford TV here on the scene, capturing all the action. The 0-1 pitch now from Cosette. It misses for a ball. You can catch all of the highlights from these Northeast Regional games over on Milford TV's YouTube channel. That is My Milford TV. Just search for that on YouTube. You can also become a subscriber and they will let you know via email as soon as new content is uploaded. Here's the 2-1 pitch now from Cosette. It drops in for strike 2. Nick Roy so far tonight, a ground out to shortstop and also grounded into a force play that ended the 3rd inning. Hits a pitch in the air, foul off the right field line. Two balls and 2 strikes the count to the first Middletown batter here of this 5th inning. Here's the pitch. And it's another foul ball again off to the right side. Nick Roy not going down easily here. The count remains 2-2. Milford now out-hitting Middletown 10-6, but still have some work to do to catch up in the run column, trailing in the game 9-6 as Roy hits a little nubber foul off the 3rd base side. A similar at-bat to what we saw put on by Andrew McMillan last inning. That at-bat resulted in a double. Cosette hoping the same does not hold true for Nick Roy. He settles back in on the right side, about to see yet another pitch from Cosette. Here it comes. And this one is lined up the middle. A diving play made at shortstop by Andrew McMillan, but his throw to first base is not in time. A bit of a double clutch as McMillan tried to get the ball out of his glove. It was a terrific rangy play, diving to keep that ball on the infield. And it was still a close play at first base, but too much speed for Roy. It will go as a single.
That was a good attempt there by McMillan. Even just the fact he was able to get that ball across.
McMillan, typically the starting 3rd baseman for post 59, but on occasions will move over to that shortstop spot where his defense has gotten progressively better and better as this season has gone on. We typically see him slide over there when Dan Mantoni starts on the mound. Mantoni today getting the start at DH.
I'd imagine you'll see McMillan there tomorrow.
If Milford cannot continue to rally and win this game, they would play a 1-game winner-take-all championship tomorrow, in which you would think Dan Mantoni would be the likely starter. The runner takes off for second base. The throw from Jeff Basazzi behind the plate, not in time. Another steal for Middletown as Roy is able to get himself into scoring position. One ball and 1 strike to count on Malcolm Elaine, who now sends a foul ball up over the backstop. Three stolen bases now in the game for Middletown by 3 different base runners. Lawrence Hill, Nick Roy, and Malcolm Elaine all with stolen bases. Elaine at the plate now. He fouls one off. The count remains 1-2. These early batters in this inning, driving up the pitch count of the relief pitcher Cam Cosette, the third pitcher utilized for post 59 in the game. Cosette looks down to second base, now delivers to the plate. It misses outside.
Nice save by Basazzi.
We've seen some good plays out of Jeff Basazzi behind the plate all game long. He's been dealing with a couple of pitchers on the night who have had their bouts of wildness, and Basazzi, who has not had a chance to work a whole lot behind the plate. His defensive skills have been sound tonight. Here's the 2-2 pitch. It's hit in the air. In foul ground behind first base. Giving it a look is Basazzi, but that will make its way a few rows back into the bleachers.
Michael Ryan's done quite the job as the catcher throughout the regional tournament. So it's nice to have Jeff Basazzi who could step in as well and provide some great defense behind the plate.
One of Coach DeVito's mantras this season has been they chose 18 guys on this team for a reason. He has every expectation that every guy on this roster will contribute in a positive way if called upon, and he really has been correct.
Well, you have great schools to choose from, that's for sure. Or a great area, I should say.
It's a full count now on the batter. The next pitch from Cosette is off the end of the bat. It takes a hard ricochet foul off the roof and actually came into this seating area, sneaking through the gap in the top of the netting.
That is rare.
Caught these fans by surprise, not expecting to see any foul balls back here.
Here's a stat for you. That's the second time this tournament it's happened.
Still a 3-2 count. Here's the pitch. It's hit in the air out to center field. Ranging back and making the catch is Brendan Pounds. Now here comes the throw in towards third base. It's cut off by the shortstop as tagging, and moving on to third base was Roy. Getting a good read on that ball in the outfield. He saw that Pounds was moving back. Tagged up and was able to get to third base now with just one out. And we once again go back up to the top of the Middletown lineup in Lawrence Hill. He has been on base twice. He has scored 2 runs. And takes the first pitch low from Cosette for ball 1. Coach DeVito hoping to see Cam Cosette come through this inning without any damage done on the scoreboard, but Middletown has a runner at third base with less than 2 outs. And now a 2-ball, no-strike count on Lawrence Hill. Milford has pulled the infield in everywhere except shortstop. The 2-0 pitch now, it's up and away.
This game over 2 hours old.
And not quite at the halfway point. The 3-0 pitch, it's up and away. A 4-pitch walk to Lawrence Hill. It does put a potential double play on the table, although we have seen good speed out of Hill so far tonight.
Hitter number 6, Jared Plummer.
And for post 59, that is now 7 walks out of their pitching staff. Runners now at first and third ahead of Jared Flommer, the designated hitter, who has walked twice and scored a couple of runs. The walks really have come back to hurt post 59. Of those 7 walks, 4 of them have come around to score. First pitch in as a strike to Flommer. Now a pickoff check over at first base, but back standing was Hill. Now the return throw to the mound gets away from Cosette, but alertly backed up by Mike Caffarella at third base. Back in the 4th game for Milford in the state tournament, we saw a big defensive breakdown in the middle innings that allowed Kingston to take a big lead. The defense has still been sharp for Milford tonight. Unfortunately, the pitching has wavered. Another pickoff throw now for Cosette. And again, back safely was Hill, this time going into the slide back into the first base bag. Still a no ball, 1 strike count on Flommer. Now the pitch, and it's a foul ball up off the backstop and back down onto the field. Cosette would love to see a strikeout right here to freeze the runners. We haven't seen Hill attempt to steal yet. But he creeps out to a lead now, held on by the first baseman, Scott DeCapua. Now the runner takes off. The pitch to the plate is in for a called 3rd strike. No throw from Basazzi. A steal for Hill, his 2nd of the game, but a big strikeout for Cam Cosette. Brings the 2nd out of the inning. And an opportunity now for Cosette to get out of the inning if he can take care of Will Woods, but that has been a tall task at times. 2 for 3 days so far for Woods, including a double and a run batted in. And it looks like they will call for the intentional walk here. They will not take a chance to let the Middletown slugger swing the bat. That draws some boos from the crowd. You don't see a lot of intentional walks in Legion baseball.
It is quite rare. I can't blame them here, though. I mean, 2 outs, get the play at every base.
Ball 3 now issued from Cam Cosette. The next batter is Chris Carty, the catcher, who has been on base 3 times. A walk, a single, and a hit by pitch. And there is ball 4, so Woods will trot down to first base. It's another bases loaded opportunity for post 75 as Carty now is about to step into the batter's box. Chris Carty listed at 6 foot tall, 185 pounds. He takes the first pitch for a strike. Cosette operating out of his full windup. Here's the pitch. It's lined up the middle. The play made behind the second base bag for Andrew McMillan, but he bobbles it and cannot get it out anywhere, and a run comes in to score. That looked like it was ticketed for center field, but McMillan was able to make up the ground to keep the ball in front, but he just continued to bobble it. And despite having the force play right in front of him at second base, he just could not make the play. And a run comes in to score. It's now a 10-6 lead for Middletown.
And they're going to score that at an error. It's post 59, 2nd error of the game.
They had only committed 3 errors in the entire tournament up until tonight.
Well, get all the kinks out now.
Coming in from third base to score was Nick Roy. And that run will be unearned. It's the 2nd unearned run that post 75 has scored tonight. So it's back up to a 4-run lead. The bases remain loaded as now this pitch is hit in the air down the right field line. A long run for Blake Hill. It lands in front of him in fair territory, and 2 runs are going to come around to score. It was an unusual track that Blake Hill took after that ball. It almost looked as if he had conceded the fact that it was going to fall foul, but it ended up landing about a foot or 2 in fair territory. And it allows 2 big runs to cross the plate, and it's back up to a 12-6 lead now for Middletown.
And that's rough. Just when you had the opportunity to get out of the inning, an error occurs which costs you a run. Then hit in the right field for 2 more.
That's 2 more unearned runs in the inning, with the error charged to Andrew McMillan with 2 outs in the inning. All the runs that score from here on out in the inning will be unearned, so 3 unearned so far, and just a crushing inning for post 59, who had worked their way right back into the game. The runner takes off for second base. The throw is not close, and it's a steal for Griffin Bremer on the heels of that 2-run single. Bremer up now to 3 runs batted in the game. Runners at second and third now for post 75, and a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Milford so close to getting out of this inning with no damage done. As now this ball is hit deep in the air out to center field. A long run for Brendan Pounds into a dive. He cannot make the catch. It rolls towards the wall. And 2 more runs are going to come around to score. It is a double for Jordan Swilling. Chris Carty and Griffin Bremer come in to score. And it is now a 14-6 lead for Middletown. It's been a 5-run inning so far. And Milford once again staring at a very big deficit. Right back to 8 runs, which is where the deficit was when Milford came to the plate in the previous half inning, as now the 9th man to come to the plate in the inning. Mormile hits the ball out into foul ground behind first base. And a bit of a blooper reel play right there for post 59, as Cam Cosette and Scott DeCapua both converged on the ball. Cosette overran it, had the ball in his glove for a moment. It popped out, then DeCapua had a chance to make a play on it. He could not secure it in the glove, and it lands foul, and the count goes to 1-1.
It almost looked like Cosette was trying to hit it to DeCapua as he was falling.
Cosette stares down at the runner at second base, now comes to the plate, and the pitch is swung on and missed. A count of 1 ball and 2 strikes on John Mormile, who has driven in 3 runs so far tonight with a couple of singles. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. The pitch from Cosette. It's popped up over towards first base. Scott DeCapua settling underneath and has the catch for the out that finally ends the inning. But a big 2-run rally put on by Middletown post 75. They end up scoring 5 more runs in the inning, and they now lead the game once again by a score of 14-6 here on coverage of Milford Legion Baseball on First Class Radio. Milford had a 5-run rally back in the 4th inning to cut the deficit from 8 runs to 3 runs. They unfortunately stare at an 8-run deficit once again as they start the bottom half of the 5th inning. As we are now 2 hours and 15 minutes into this game, and still only at the halfway point now here in the bottom of the 5th. Scott Marks back out on the pitcher's mound for post 75. He allowed 3 runs on 4 hits in that 4th inning, though he did allow 2 inherited runners to score as well. Scott DeCapua leading off this inning. He pops it up on the infield in foul ground down the 3rd base line. It's Will Woods who makes the catch. DeCapua retired for the first time tonight.
Third baseman, number 6, Michael Caparella.
So far tonight, Middletown has scored in every inning except the 2nd. ended up going quickly 1-2-3 in that second inning. That is the only quick inning they have had so far tonight, scoring 3 runs in the first, 2 in the second, 3 runs in the first, 2 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and 5 in the fifth. 14 runs on 9 hits total now for Middletown, 6 runs on 10 hits with 3 errors for Post 59. So deciding to charge an error on that diving play by Brendan Pounds. In the previous half inning. So that will take the double away from Swilling. So we'll go as an error on Brendan Pounds. It's now a 1-ball, 2-strike count on Mike Caffarella, who bats here with 1 out and the bases empty in the bottom of the 5th. Next pitch misses outside, now a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Caffarella's had a pretty good feel for the strike zone in his first 2 plate appearances. He's walked twice. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Defensive swing that time from Caffarella, and he hits it foul. (14-6), Middletown leading Milford here on this second to last day of this Northeast Regional Tournament. Caffarella a half swing, and he lines the pitch off the backstop. So far it's been Luke Sorensen and Scott Marks used on the mound for Middletown. Kevin Lynch, Alex Croteau, and Cam Cosette utilized for Post 59. A 3-2 pitch about to be thrown here to Mike Caffarella, and he hits it again straight back. That one clanking hard right off the base of the bleachers.
We've had a number of interesting foul balls tonight.
Count remains 3-2. The next pitch on the way, and Caffarella drives it out to right center field, but it will hang up long enough for John Mormile to make the catch. 2 up and 2 down here in the bottom of the 5th inning, and that will leave it up to Jeff Basazzi, who drilled a pitch out to right center field for an RBI double his last time up. Basazzi ready to see the first pitch of the at-bat, and it drops in just low for ball 1. Past the hour of 9 p.m. now. Still much more baseball to be played, barring any mercy rules coming into play. Jeff Basazzi hits a ball on the ground to shortstop. A quick play made by Lawrence Hill. He throws to first base, and it is the first 1-2-3 inning of the night for Middletown pitching. They get the shutdown inning they were hoping for, and we have played 5 full innings now from William Pomfret Stadium, and it is a 14-6 lead for Middletown over Milford here on WMRC First Class Radio. A number of defensive changes for Post 59 as we get set to begin this top of the 6th inning. On the infield, it is Matt DeCina who moves in to take over at third base. Mike Caffarella slides over from third base to take over at shortstop, so Andrew McMillan is now out of this game. And out in left field, replacing Matt DeCina, is Cole McNana. So unclear as to why Andrew McMillan has come out of this game. That is potentially worrisome for Post 59, who is playing this regional tournament without one of their major bats, and Kevin Martinez. They really can't afford to lose another, especially their team leader in batting average in Andrew McMillan. So we'll try to get an update, if we possibly can, as to why McMillan has come out. It could potentially just be for rest with the big deficit. Cam Cosette remains on the pitcher's mound. As now Roy hits the ball out to shallow center field. Into the dive is Brendan Pounds, and he is able to make the catch.
That was a nice diving catch by Brendan Pounds.
Just a little looper out there into shallow center field. Pounds was playing deep, but again, there have been a number of times in this game where he has shown just what tremendous speed he has. Makes the catch to rob Nick Roy of his second hit. And now first pitch swinging. This ball is hit to third base. A nice backhanded play by Matt DeCina in his first attempt at third base, and he makes a good clean throw across the diamond. A nice play all the way around by DeCina. And the first two batters are retired here in the top of the sixth.
Shortstop number 4, Lawrence Hill.
Now with 2 outs, it's back up to the top of the order once again, and Lawrence Hill. Now a 2-ball, no strike count.
I wonder if they just took McMillan out maybe for some rest.
This pitch now hit just over the head of Joe White. It lands out in right field for a hit. Moving to second base now and getting there safely is Hill, as there wasn't a real sense of urgency out there in right field to make a play on that ball. Hill picked up on that and was able to make his way into second base with a gift double.
The designated hitter number 6.
That's now the 10th hit of the game for Middletown. It puts the hit column even for both sides. Milford certainly with their fair share of hits in this game. Unfortunately, not enough of them have produced runs to keep up with Middletown. Cosette's first pitch into Jared Flommer is in for strike 1. As now this ball is hit through the left side for a base hit, around to score without difficulty is Flommer. An RBI single. It was Lawrence Hill coming around to score on the RBI single by Flommer to put the score up now to 15-6.
Will Woods.
So just one more run, and then they can play for the mercy on the bottom of the 6th.
Will Woods, the big slugger in this lineup, now at the plate. He was intentionally walked his last time up. Two balls and no strikes now the count. The set by Cosette and the pitch. The ball hit high in the air but foul off to the right side. Milford with a mercy rule win in this tournament back a couple of days ago, having to play to 7 innings for that mercy rule to come into play. Now trailing this game by 9 runs, in danger of suffering a mercy rule loss. As this ball is hit deep in the air out to right field. Blake Hill back to the track, just in front of the wall. He's able to make the catch for the out that ends the inning. The Middletown fans rising to their feet, hoping to see that one leave the yard, but not quite, as Hill makes the catch for the final out. But another run crosses the plate for Middletown, who leads it now 15-6, as you listen to coverage of Milford Legion baseball here on First Class Radio.
Tonight's paid attendance 300.
15-6 is the score. Middletown has the lead. As post 59 will come to the plate here in the bottom half of the 6th inning. It will be Matt DeCina to lead it off, and then Cole McNana to follow. He will take his first at bat after coming on as a defensive replacement in the last half inning. Scott Marks continuing to pitch for post 75, and on the first pitch of this bottom of the 6th inning, Matt DeCina rips a single right back up the middle. On base now for the 3rd time.
Left fielder number 4, Cole McNana.
Scott Marks now into his 3rd inning of relief. Now dealing with Cole McNana. McNana has not seen a whole lot of action at the plate over the course of this season. This is just his 10th at bat of the year, batting .222. Takes a bit of an awkward swing at the 0-1 pitch and grounds it foul towards the on-deck circle. No information on exactly why Andrew McMillan was removed from the game. We'll effort to get that information after the game tonight. Again, hoping it was just an opportunity perhaps to give McMillan a little bit of rest ahead of the championship game tomorrow, which at this point is looking increasingly like it will be a 1-game winner-take-all here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, with Milford playing the winner of what would be a 1-game play-in between Middletown and their Connecticut rival.
McMillan did walk over to the warm-up area. I'm not sure if he's talking with a trainer over there or just talking with another coach.
Pickoff check over at first base, and DeCina back safely.
Seem to be walking fine, which is always a good sign.
Looks like it is Coach Schoenberg over there in the bullpen area with Andrew McMillan. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count, meanwhile, to Cole McNana, who continues to work at the plate. The next pitch in from Marks is swung on and missed. McNana fooled on an inside pitch. Goes down on strikes. It's just the 2nd strikeout for Milford in the game.
Number 7, Dan Mantoni.
1 out, and DeCina remaining at first base now for Dan Mantoni, who is 2 for 3 with a couple of runs batted in. (15-6), Middletown with the lead. Milford needing to put some runs on the board, or else they will be in real danger of suffering a mercy rule loss if things continue to go south on the pitching side of things for post 59. Mantoni with a count of 2 balls and no strikes now takes a hack at the next pitch and drives it foul and out of play off to the right side. DeCina with a modest lead at first base. Next pitch on the way from Marks, and it's hit on the ground slowly. Picked up by the 3rd baseman Woods. He fires to second base for the out there. The off-balance throw is thrown wildly towards first, and Mantoni will reach. There's a quick throw from Woods into second base to get the lead runner. And then I believe it was the shortstop covering the bag who threw off balance and across his body towards first base. The ball ended up in foul ground. No further advance from Mantoni. It was safe on the fielder's choice. No error charged on the play. Joe White now hits a pitch in the air out to right center field. Ranging back is Nick Roy, the center fielder. He settles underneath and makes the catch. And Milford fails to score here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 6 innings in the books now from Palmer Field here in Middletown, Connecticut, and it is a 15-6 lead for Middletown Post 75 here on WMRC First Class Radio. We will see a 4th pitcher now used on the day for Milford Post 59. And it is a name we have not yet called on the pitcher's mound so far this year, Brian Espinette. Getting his first chance on the pitcher's mound this season. He was not even listed as a pitcher on the roster for Post 59 when the season began. But Coach DeVito wanting to try to keep part of his bullpen intact with an eye towards the regional championship game tomorrow. So trying to stay away from the likes of Andrew McMillan, who is no longer in the game. David Sampson, who we saw make the start on the mound yesterday. Trying to stay away from Blake Hill. So it will be Brian Espinette. We'll see what he has to offer on the pitcher's mound in this inning. He delivers a first pitch strike into Chris Cardy, the catcher. The lanky right-hander deals a pitch that travels behind the back of Cardy. A 1-ball, 1-strike count. Espinette back into his windup. Here's the pitch. It bounces in. Either bounced off of the plate or perhaps the shin guards of Jeff Basazzi, and the count goes to 2-1. Playing into the top half of the 7th inning here at Palmer Field, part of the William Pomfret Stadium complex here in Middletown, Connecticut. Tim Coet and Tom Nappy on the call as now this pitch is driven in the air out to left field. A long run for Cole McNana now towards the line, and he is able to make the catch.
Left fielder number 7, Griffin Bremer.
So Espinette able to retire his first batter. Again, RCP Cromwell, the only other team still alive in this tournament. The rest of the field has been eliminated. First pitch in now to Griffin Bremer, misses low for ball 1. Espinette with the high leg kick and the pitch, and misses up and away. Now 2-0 the count.
It's funny when you look at the 3 remaining teams. Middletown is last in team batting average wise, and then in pitching they're in 6th out of the 8 teams. And Milford and Cromwell are right at the top in both batting and pitching.
It's been a difficult road for this host team, but they have managed to get it done at the plate against the Milford pitching staff here tonight. As now this ball is hit hard on the ground towards shortstop. It is booted over there by Mike Caffarella, and the runner will reach, and that should go as now the 4th error of the game. It is indeed an error charged to Caffarella.
Baseman number 8, Jordan Swilling.
For Mike Caffarella, This is the first time we have seen him at shortstop. He's done the bulk of his work over at first base with a couple of appearances at third, including getting the start at third when this game first began. He ended up moving over to shortstop when Andrew McMillan was removed from the game. Milford only had 3 errors in this tournament through the first 3 games, and now they have committed 4 miscues here tonight. This 4th game in tournament play has continued to be a tricky one for Post 59. It's such a tightrope walk to try to determine how hard you want to go after this win in this game, knowing that you have the trip to the championship round already sewn up.
Oh, it's a good system. Win the first 3, get some of the kinks out in game 4, and then go into game 5 and be 100% ready to go.
Runner takes off for second base as the pitch misses high. No throw from Basazi. And despite the 9-run lead, Middletown continuing to be aggressive on the bases. If this were a major league game, we would be talking about those unwritten rules.
Well, you think about it, if you're Middletown, you're going to have to play at 1 p.m. tomorrow and then play Milford at 7 if you win the 1 p.m. game. So try to play as least amount of innings as possible.
And now the walk to Jordan Swilling. He heads down to first base, runners at first and second.
Middletown, their mentality is get out of this game and go to sleep and get ready for, hopefully for their sake, 2 games tomorrow.
And I think if you even slipped Coach DeVito a little bit of truth serum, he would probably tell you he'd be happy to see this game come to an end without having to use any more pitchers and not risking any more injuries.
Right fielder, number 12, John Mormile.
I'm just curious who he's going to throw out there next to pitch if he needs another pitcher.
We have seen Brendan Pounds pressed into service on the pitcher's mound in emergency situations. That has not gone particularly well. As this pitch is now driven out into left field for a base hit, played quickly by Matt DeCina, and that will hold the runner Griffin Bremer at third base. It's a single for John Mormile, who is now 3 for 5.
Center fielder, number 19, Nick Roy.
We see Middletown now with that potential 16th run now at third base with only 1 out in the inning. Brian Espinette in a big jam. It's Bremer at third base, Jordan Swilling at second base, John Mormile, who just singled at first, and now Nick Roy, who has an infield hit in 4 trips to the plate. He steps in and takes the first pitch for a ball. Roy has grounded out to shortstop, hit into an inning-ending force play, collected the infield single and scored a run in the 5th inning and lined out to center field in the 6th. Takes a swing and a miss right here to even the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. The infield in tight at short, second, and first base. As the pitch misses inside to bring the count to 2-1. Matt DeCina playing a couple of steps back on the infield dirt. They play at medium depth out in left field and center field, with Blake Hill a little bit deeper out in right. Here is the 2-1 pitch. Hit in the air, foul off to the right, out of play. Winner of this Northeast Regional will move on to the American Legion World Series, which is set to begin on August 14th down in Shelby, North Carolina. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and it's another foul ball.
And if Milford was to win tomorrow, they would most likely take off right from here to North Carolina.
We did receive some information prior to the start of the tournament that that would be the plan. Whoever won this regional would fly out almost immediately after the close of tournament play. As there is a called third strike on the outside corner, a nice pitch from Espinette to get the strikeout and frees the runners on base. So Roy goes down looking.
Second baseman number 3.
First strikeout for Espinette in his outing. It's the third strikeout for Milford pitching. Really not a whole lot of strikeouts to speak of on either side in this game. Base is still loaded now with 2 outs ahead of Malcolm Elaine, who takes the first pitch for a strike. Elaine reached on a walk back in the 4th inning and scored a run. Is now down in the count, 0-2.
I tell you, Espinette's not looking too bad out there.
His first time on the pitcher's mound in a post-59 uniform. Facing a bases loaded 2-out situation here in the top of the 7th. Here's the pitch, and it misses up high. One ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Bremer the runner at third, Swilling the runner at second. Mormile the runner at first. Now the pitch on the way from Espinette. It's hit on the ground to third base, off the glove of Matt DeCina. It ricochets towards shortstop. It gets the run in from third base. Bremer comes in to score to make it a 16-6 lead for Middletown.
That's rough. 5th error of the game
Shortstop
for
number
Milford.
4, Lawrence Hill.
A lot of players playing out of their natural positions for post-59, but certainly not an excuse. A team that is typically sound defensively, and Matt DeCina has seen a decent amount of time at third base over the course of the year. And Espinette getting the job done, getting the big strikeout of Roy, inducing the ground ball to third base that should have been the final out of the inning. And there are a lot of should-have-beens and could-have-beens in this game for post-59. A lot of opportunities for them to get out of some of these jams with much less damage done on the scoreboard, but just not able to make the pitches when they needed to, or the defensive plays when they needed to.
Well, this is the game to get all the shoulda, woulda, couldas out of your system.
Two balls and no strikes now the count to Lawrence Hill, as we are back up once again to the top of the Middletown lineup. This is now the 6th at bat of the game for Lawrence Hill, the leadoff hitter, and he has now batted in the last 4 consecutive innings. Just goes to show you the constant damage that Middletown has been able to do, although some of the damage has been self-inflicted for post-59. Espinette with the pitch, in for a strike. Now 3 balls and 1 strike the count. Living dangerously here, 1 pitch away from walking in another run. Here is the pitch. It is hit in the air. On the infield, it should be playable. Over at third base, Matt DeCina is able to make the catch for the out that ends the inning, but 1 more run comes home to score for Middletown post-75. We'll need to see some runs for post-59 in this bottom of the 7th inning if we are to continue. Stay tuned to coverage of Milford Legion Baseball here on WMRC First Class Radio. 5 errors now committed in this game for Milford post-59. As you will recall, they committed 7 errors in the loss to Kingston in their second to last game of state tournament play last week. Milford needing a run here in the 7th inning, at least one run, or we will see mercy rules come into play for the second time in a post-59 game in this tournament, but certainly a much different outcome this time around. Blake Hill leading it off. He sends a foul ball up off one of the stanchion posts here around the home plate area. Quickly down in the count, 0-2. Marks remains the man on the mound for Middletown. Here's his 0-2 pitch, and this is down and away. Blake Hill, Brendan Pounds, and Scott DeCapua, the trio expected in this inning. Next pitch from Marks misses just outside. It's an odd delivery for Scott Marks. It's almost as if he takes his back foot off of the pitching rubber prior to his delivery. As now Blake Hill hits a hot shot to shortstop. It gets past the glove of Lawrence Hill and out into left field for a base hit.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's almost like kind of crosses his legs up a little bit as he's throwing the ball.
I'm a little surprised that that's a legal delivery. You would think if you take that foot off the pitching rubber that that would be a balk.
I don't know if he's taking it off. I think he's just kind of sliding it over.
Blake Hill is at first base with now his 3rd hit of the day.
But these umps at the regionals, I mean, they're some of the best in the business, so if he was taking his foot off, they would see it.
A lead off of first now for Hill. The pitch in to Pounds is in for a strike. The move not quite as noticeable from Marks when he pitches out of the stretch. Here's the 0-1. It bounces in, it gets away from the catcher. Hill won't try to move up. He was headed back towards the first base bag, didn't get a read on that passed ball. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. The pitch on the way, and that one grounded foul. It got a piece of Pounds on the way down. The count goes to 1-2. Chris Carty, the catcher, personally delivering the baseball back to his reliever, Scott Marks, who is now out there for his 4th inning. Middletown was able to get 3+ innings out of Luke Sorensen, their starter. Milford was really able to get some good work done out of Marks when he first came into the game in the 4th inning, but that was the only inning. They ended up sending 9 men to the plate in the 4th inning, scoring 5 times. It went 1-2-3 in the 5th inning. They were unable to score in the 6th. They do have the lead runner on here in the 7th inning, and now here's a line drive base hit for Brendan Pounds right back up the middle.
Not going down without a fight, Tim.
Back-to-back singles here puts runners at first and second base. And now here's Scott DeCapua, who is working on a 2-for-3 night at the plate.
First baseman number 11, Scott DeCapua.
First pitch into Scott DeCapua misses for ball 1. Scott with singles in the 2nd inning and the 4th inning. Also popped out in the 5th. Lays off a pitch up and out of the strike zone. Now ahead in the count 2-0. 16 runs on 12 hits, no errors for Middletown. 6 runs, 13 hits, and 5 errors for post 59. Two balls and 1 strike now the count to DeCapua, who takes a called strike borderline on the outside edge. swing and a foul ball from DeCapua evens the count at 2-2.
I guess one of the positive things you could say about this game, these post 59 hitters are battling.
Scott DeCapua brought a .267 batting average on the year into this game tonight. We'll certainly see an uptick in that after his 2 hits so far in the game.
For those of you golf fans out there, Rory McIlroy won the PGA Championship.
If I'm not mistaken, that's right on the heels of a win at the British Open. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the extent of my golf knowledge.
Same here.
A line drive here for DeCapua, but just foul. Down the left field line, a good hard hit from DeCapua, but landing about a foot in foul territory. Two balls, 2 strikes, nobody out here in this inning. A check swing by DeCapua. He did not go. Now they'll send a late check down to first base, but first base ump says no swing, so the count will run full. DeCapua taking some signs from Coach DeVito down in the third base coach's box before he steps back in. The runners hold at first and second as the pitch misses just low for ball 4. And so Milford will see the bases loaded here with nobody out.
Things are getting interesting here, that's for sure.
Shortstop,
you know,
number
if you're
6,
Middletown, you
Michael
really want this
Caparella.
mercy. Listed on their roster, they have 9 or 10 pitchers, but they're gonna have to dig into their bullpen tomorrow.
The last thing they want to do is even have to warm up someone else in this game, but Mark's now working in his 4th inning of relief. He doesn't have an out yet here in the 7th inning.
And this post 59 lineup, it's still dangerous. They took some of the starters out, but still a lot of dangerous hitters left.
A 1 ball, no strike count to Mike Cafarella, who takes a bit of an off-balance swing and a miss. Now to even the count at 1-1. Base is full of post 59 runners. Here's the 1-1 pitch and misses well off the outside edge. This game now officially 3 hours old as we still have not yet recorded an out in the bottom of the 7th. The 2-1 pitch misses inside, almost ended up at the backstop.
Really putting you to work after your vacation. Looks like Mike McShane, a sidearm hurler, is warming up over there.
Three balls and 1 strike. Here's the pitch. And this one is swung on and popped up just beyond the infield dirt. The shortstop, Lawrence Hill, settles underneath. He makes the catch. And a tough first out for Milford in this inning. Cafarella ahead in the count, 3-1.
Catcher number 18,
pops it up.
Jeff
Nowhere near
Bazazzi.
deep enough for the runner to try to score from third. One out, and now Jeff Bazazzi coming up to the plate. Hit an RBI double earlier in the game, 1 for 3 overall. Swings at the first pitch and hits it on the ground down the first base line, but ruled a foul ball.
You think about it too, if this game does continue, it actually probably benefits Milford a little bit because it wears out Middletown, and or could benefit RCP as well.
0-1 the count. The next pitch in for a called strike 2. A lot of the Middletown fans continuing to hang around. They want to see Scott Marks work out of this jam and secure the Mercy Rule win. The 0-2 pitch on the way to Basazi, and it is swung on and missed. Milford potentially down to their last out.
Third baseman number 9, Matt DeCina.
It's up to Matt DeCina if we are to continue. DeCina has walked and singled twice. He's also scored a run. He is officially 2 for 3.
Certainly one of the hitters you'd want at the plate if you want to continue this game.
Blake Hill, the runner at third base. Brendan Pounds, the runner at second. Scott DeCapua, the man at first. The bases were loaded with nobody out. They remain loaded with now 2 outs. It is a 16-6 lead for Middletown. 1 out away from a mercy rule win. The first pitch into DeCina was ball 1. Here's the 0-1. This is hit in the air out to center field. Ranging over is Nick Roy. He's underneath and makes the catch for the final out in this bottom of the 7th inning. A frustrating inning for Post 59. They loaded the bases with nobody out but could not score. And now both teams will spill out of their dugouts as mercy rules will come into apply. And Milford drops this game in very disappointing fashion to Middletown, Connecticut by a final score of 16-6. So that will send 3 teams on to the final day of these Northeast Regionals. RCP Cromwell and Middletown now with an afternoon date tomorrow, and the winner of that game will face Milford in the championship round in a night game.